Hey, it's Andrew with the Isle of Misfit books. Today I want to tell you about the Muck Disaster of 1924, a horrible industrial accident that took the lives of 19 people, 12 of them children. This was not a plant explosion that claimed the lives of workers in the plant. No, this was a toxic flood of runoff from the plant that swamped the workers' village below the plant, wiping out houses and, as I said, claiming 19 lives in the end, and injuring many, many others with toxic burns, chemical burns. This is a huge event in the history of this town, this small town of Saltville, Virginia, way down in the southwest corner of the state. Memorialized very nicely with a very well put together exhibit in the museum here, which I highly recommend if you're in the area. But ultimately, in the rest of the country, a forgotten incident. So the town of Saltville, which is where I presently am, is built on a very old, very large salt deposit. In 1893, an Englishman by the name of Mathieson opened the Mathieson Alkali works to take advantage of this vast resource of salt. Salt can be used to make lots of things. It is an essential building block of life, but in particular, they used it to make alkaline products, caustic soda. They mixed it with lime that came from a nearby mine via the system of cable cars to produce all kinds of products that could be used for cleaning and also industrial processes. And it became a thriving company town built around that plant, a company town that by 1920 was a company town with company housing. There was a company medical office, there was a company department store. Everybody in the town worked at the company and made a good living. Saltville is a small town. I'm facing the Museum of the Middle Appalachians, which is where I got the full in-depth story about the Muck Disaster for the first time. Great little museum. And being a company town that was hit very hard by the closing of the Olin plant in '72 and various changes, various other closings, it has definitely bounced back. By World War I, the company was actually producing cyanide gas for potential use in the war. I believe the US never actually used it, but we did have stockpiles, and that was produced here at the Mathieson Alkali Works. Kind of an interesting side note. The salt was left by an inland sea that evaporated, and perhaps some of these lakes, these little ponds, may be, I do not know, but they may be the remains of that. There are a number of them in town. But to produce these products, the gases and sodas and ashes and that sort of thing that were used for both consumer goods but also industrial goods, weaponry, produced a lot of runoff. And that runoff they called the liquor. This was a thick white slurry that they stored in ponds. And these ponds, the retaining walls had stone foundations, but they were built of the dried liquor, which solidified. Being alkaline, it solidifies pretty well, kind of into a sort of cement. And the week leading up to Christmas in 1924 apparently was a week of very heavy rain. You get to Christmas Eve 1924, it's been raining all week, raining all day, raining into the night, and around midnight there was a huge boom, larger than any thundercrack that they'd been hearing. It was the main retaining wall giving way, and the liquor swept out of the holding ponds down to the town directly below, the company town directly below, called Palmertown, and swept away houses, killed 19 people, 12 of them children. There's a story of 3 little girls who were in an upstairs bedroom when this happened, and the house shook, and they're all huddling together on the bed upstairs calling for their parents. Parents were downstairs, killed, the house swept away, and rescuers eventually found them and had to, take a barge out to them, cut a hole in the ceiling, and get the 3 girls out. They'd been calling for their parents the whole time. A lot of the rescue workers suffered severe chemical burns because this stuff was just, this muck was just so toxic. So it seemed to me that there are some parallels between that time, 1924, with this massive chemical plant that's producing all of this toxic runoff, this liquor, this muck that they're storing in pools, and that is just an accident waiting to happen, to our time now, 100 years later, where with these massive AI data centers that we're building in Virginia, but throughout the country, that are also consuming lots of electricity, lots of water, and not necessarily producing a physical runoff in the same way that the Mathieson Alkali works was, but producing a product, especially as that product is used in social media and in just this manufacture of slop. The parallel between muck and slop seems very appropriate, but I think a lot of the energy that's being used by these technologies is going into producing slop. And it's not even a slop that's being put behind walls. It's just being put out into the world at an ever-increasing rate. And so that's, to my mind at least, the parallel between then and now. And that's what kind of clicked into place as I was learning more about the Muck Disaster and just touring this area, which is also just such a lovely area. I'm in a park within the town limits. It's a lovely area in the Blue Ridge Mountains, just surrounded by beauty, by natural beauty. That got me thinking about what it is that we're doing to ourselves, and just had me realize that the old abandoned chemical plant is an ideal setting for a modern day vampire tale, casting the tech bro oligarch in the role of Dracula in his castle. That's why I say the muck is inspired by the Muck Disaster of 1924. It doesn't figure directly in, but the setting is and my imagined version of the Mathieson Alkali works. I really love this setting and love the abandoned chemical plant, and tried to use that as almost another character, but definitely a strong setting for what I see as sort of a modern day vampire tale, a modern day Gothic tale. If it sounds at all intriguing, check it out. I think you'll like it. It's a lot of fun. It's a real page turner. So somewhere back beyond here, I presume, is the maw, the Mathieson Alkali works. All still private property, all very much gated off and behind a fence, and unfortunately I can't take you there. I wish I could take you there, but we can't. In the book you can. In the book you can join along with all of the characters that get sucked into the maw, but in real life it's pretty well closed off, and I'm not about to try to jump a fence and fight barbed wire to get back in there. But this is, I believe, since Olin bought the plant in the middle 20th century, and then they ran it, and that is the Olin that makes skis. They make a lot of other products as well, but they ran it as an operating chemical plant until 1972, when it was closed down, largely due to environmental regulations and or infractions. So here we are at the limits of it. But this is, in real life, this is as far as I can take you, but in the wonderful world of fiction, we can all go inside in the muck. If you made it this far, thank you very much. I appreciate your attention. If you're so inspired, the Muck Disaster, you can find more about it online. You could certainly visit the museum here in town, the Museum of the Middle Appalachians, which I highly recommend. If you're in the area, if you're coming here, it's a great museum, it's a great exhibit. And if you are so inclined, so inspired, check out my new novel, The Muck. Again, it's not set in that time. It's set in the modern day, but also set in my imagining of the ruins of the Mathieson Alkali works. It's taking inspiration from that past event, but set in the present day. Available in paperback on Amazon now. The ebook will be out June 20th, so that may be out now as well, and I'm working on the audiobook, hoping to get that up as soon as possible. So links will be in the description box below, and like, subscribe, do all the things. And I will see you in the next one.